Losing time, I'm fading fast. I just wanna make it last. Try to let go of the past. I close my eyes, embrace the blast. Sleepless nights and headache stack. Restlessness to hell and back.
Have flagship phones become too focused on gimmicks? The Xiaomi 17 Max might be the answer. Today, we're taking a closer look at a phone that isn't getting the most headlines, yet could be one of Xiaomi's smartest releases in years. For several generations, Xiaomi's standard flagship models held a special place in the Android world. Their compact 6.36-inch size, excellent cameras, and lightweight design made them favorites among users looking for a true small flagship. The Xiaomi 13, 14, and 15 all sold incredibly well. If you've used any of them, drop a 1 in the comments. But this year, things changed. Before launch, many expected the Xiaomi 17 standard model to account for over half of the series sales. Instead, it landed at just 15 to 20%. Even Lu Weibing admitted the Pro models stole the spotlight. The biggest talking point became the ingenious back screen, and naturally, most attention shifted to the Pro lineup. As a result, something felt missing. Users who simply wanted a reliable flagship, comfortable to hold, powerful enough for daily life, and free from flashy tricks, suddenly had no obvious choice. And that's where the Xiaomi 17 Max steps in. This isn't the most hyped phone, it's not the most experimental, and it's definitely not the cheapest. What it does offer is what most people actually want: a huge display, massive battery, flagship performance, great cameras, and premium hardware. Looking at today's smartphone market, especially in 2026, the Xiaomi 17 Max could quietly be one of Xiaomi's most impressive digital series phones. Big thanks to my tech partner over in China for providing this footage. I really appreciate the support in making this video happen. Hey everyone, Stella here from techiestreet. If you're into staying updated with the newest gadgets, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our latest tech content. Let's start with the display. The real reason for this giant 9.6-inch screen isn't just more viewing space, it's what that extra space allows Xiaomi to do inside. The Xiaomi 17 Max features a 6.9-inch flat display and weighs 228.7 grams, roughly in line with other flagship devices. But thanks to its larger frame, Xiaomi managed to fit something incredible inside: an 8,000 mAh battery. That's the biggest battery ever used in a Xiaomi digital flagship, even larger than what's found in some 11-inch tablets. So how did they pull it off? The secret comes down to a silicon-carbon battery with 15% silicon content and an impressive energy density of 894 watt-hours per liter. But specs are one thing, real-world performance is what matters. We started using the phone around 1:30 p.m. and went through a normal day: photos, navigation, social media, video calls, content editing, 30 minutes of Genshin Impact, and about an hour of movie watching. At 10 p.m., the result was surprising. Screen on time reached 6 hours 37 minutes, and there was still 40% battery left. So that 8,000 mAh number isn't just marketing. In daily use, it means leaving home without a power bank and without battery anxiety. Add 100-watt wired charging and 50-watt wireless charging, and the battery experience feels almost unbeatable. Now let's talk about the screen itself. The biggest concern many people have with a 6.9-inch display is resolution. On paper, Xiaomi uses a 1.5K panel, and that might sound disappointing when other flagships advertise 2K screens. But real-world use tells a different story. Simply put, this display looks excellent. To understand why, we need to look at how OLED screens work. Unlike LCDs, OLED panels use self-emitting pixels made up of red, green, and blue subpixels. Historically, blue OLED materials aged much faster than red and green ones. If manufacturers used a traditional RGB layout like LCD panels, blue pixels would wear out sooner. That's why companies adopted diamond-style pixel arrangements, including Samsung's diamond layout, BOE's blue diamond, and Tianma's windmill diamond. Different names, same idea. These layouts reduce the number of red and blue subpixels, making each one larger and more durable, helping extend display lifespan. The trade-off is lower resolution efficiency. For example, a so-called 2K diamond OLED panel contains around 9.2 million subpixels because neighboring pixels share red and blue subpixels. Using common industry calculations, the effective visual resolution ends up being roughly 65% of the advertised number. In other words, that 2K display you see on paper often looks much closer to 1.5K in real-world viewing.
But here's where the Xiaomi 17 Max gets really interesting. Instead of using the common diamond pixel layout, Xiaomi went with a full RGB design. Every pixel gets its own red, green, and blue subpixels. No sharing, no linking. Xiaomi calls it a super pixel structure. And that's where things get clever. This 1.5K RGB display packs about 9.38 million subpixels, almost matching the subpixel count of many flagship 2K diamond OLED panels. In side-by-side comparisons, the difference was surprisingly hard to spot. That's the beauty of Xiaomi's approach. You get a viewing experience that feels very close to 2K, even though it's technically 1.5K. And there's a bonus. At similar visual sharpness, power consumption is lower. Moving to the design, the Max follows the same styling language as the rest of the Xiaomi 17 series. You get ultra-thin bezels on all four sides, smooth, rounded corners, and a massive 6.9-inch display that creates a truly immersive look. Even though this isn't the Ultra model, it never feels like a downgrade. Nothing about the design feels compromised. The build quality remains every bit as premium as the rest of the lineup. Now let's talk cameras. Honestly, I won't spend too long here. The reason is simple. The Xiaomi 17 Max isn't Xiaomi's imaging king this year. That title belongs to the Ultra. But that's not the Max's mission. Its goal is to give you a complete and dependable camera system for everyday life. The main camera uses a 200-megapixel Leica sensor with a native dynamic range of 13.5 EV. And the biggest benefit of 200 megapixels isn't just the number, it's flexibility. Maybe you photograph a cat far away or quickly capture a spontaneous moment. Later, you can crop heavily and still keep excellent detail. For street photography and travel shots, that's incredibly useful. In real use, portraits look natural and realistic, skin texture looks authentic, and even close-up details remain impressively sharp. For zoom shots, Xiaomi includes a 70mm equivalent 50-megapixel Leica telephoto camera. And honestly, 70mm is one of the most useful focal lengths around. It's not too wide, not too zoomed in. Whether you're shooting portraits, food, or scenes across the street, it feels natural and easy to use. Image processing stays clean and polished across different subjects. During testing, one thing stood out. The 6x zoom appears heavily optimized. On paper, it should simply be a cropped version of the 3x telephoto camera, but surprisingly, 6x often looked even sharper than 3x. That suggests Xiaomi is doing far more than basic cropping. There's clearly some advanced image processing working behind the scenes. And that's really the story of the Max camera. It's not built to steal the spotlight. It's built so your everyday photography never feels limited. And it succeeds. Performance is powered by the Snapdragon Elite Gen 5. Everything felt fast and smooth, taking photos, editing them, applying filters, exporting files, and sharing them. Lag was almost non-existent. We also played Genshin Impact for 30 minutes at maximum settings. The highest temperature reached 43 degrees Celsius, while battery drain was just 7%. For a phone carrying a huge 6.9-inch display and an 8,000 battery backup, that's an excellent result. Xiaomi also added useful Apple ecosystem support. You get Magic Launcher, camera and microphone sharing across devices, and iPhone app handoff. If you use both Android and Apple devices, that's genuinely practical. Now let's go back to the bigger picture, because the Xiaomi 17 Max feels especially important in 2026. During the first quarter of the year, global DRAM prices jumped roughly 80 to 95%. Storage costs also rose dramatically, growing from around 10 to 20% of total hardware costs to nearly 30%. As a result, Xiaomi brands across China started the biggest wave of price increases we've seen in years. Mid-range phones went up 300 to 500 yuan, while flagship prices climbed roughly 15 to 25% compared to 2025. And that's exactly why the Xiaomi 17 Max stands out. Look at the package: a 1.5K True RGB display, 200-megapixel Leica camera, 8,000 mAh battery, dual 1115x stereo speakers, Longjing Glass 3.0, ultrasonic fingerprint scanner, plus IP68 and IP69 protection. Then consider the starting price of 4,799 yuan, about $706 or 526 pounds. At first glance, none of those features seem revolutionary. That's because you've seen most of them before. But bringing all of them together in one phone creates something special. The overall package feels incredibly complete, especially in a year when everything else is getting more expensive. While many Xiaomi devices have faced growing criticism, the Max feels like it's moving in the opposite direction. Others are raising prices. Xiaomi is adding value. And that brings me back to my first impression. If you want a flagship without paying extra for trendy gimmicks, if you don't want to spend more just for hype, if you never want to worry about battery life, and if you simply want a camera you can trust every day, then the Xiaomi 17 Max may not be the most talked about Xiaomi phone this year, but it might be the most dependable and possibly the most comfortable everyday flagship in the entire Xiaomi 17 lineup. For users looking for a practical, reliable flagship, that missing piece finally feels complete. That's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, and share. I'm Robin, and I'll see you in the next one. Wish me luck. Bye!